when we finally came out, some dudes got laced up. They cut this one dude so bad, it came right through his cheek, you could see his teeth. Those were mop buckets of blood, because they got him in the movie theater, and the movie theater goes this way, so everything just rolled down the hill.
Hi. Okay, so welcome to episode 8 of Time the Podcast. We have a treat today. We have a special guest with us today. A good friend of mine, been a friend for a long time. I'm the boss, and with me again is my best friend, Paula Parrish.
And we're here with. You're anonymous, or you're sharing?
David Coleman.
Dave's here.
David Coleman. How many years were you in for?
A few months shy of 40 years. I went in when I was 17.
Another thing that we don't do on the podcast, Dave, is we're not going to get into specific crimes, right? Yeah. Because we don't want to take the focus away from what goes on inside the prisons and shift it to why'd you go there.
Yeah.
We want to talk about what goes on inside, how it affected you, how you're doing today, how you got to where you're at today.
But can I ask you guys something?
Sure.
Did you talk about that stuff with each other on the inside?
Not really.
Yeah, you don't.
There's some things you just don't want to know. Now, obviously, we do checks to make sure that the people around us aren't nefarious or scumbags. After that, you get friends with somebody, they may reveal certain things about themselves. I don't want to know,
Because it doesn't matter, right? Sorry, I cut you off.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
It absolutely does, because you are who you hang with, right?
Absolutely.
You show me who a man walks with, and I'll show you who he is.
How and where did you first meet?
That'll go back to my memory. I was like, how much shit did I smoke? Okay, 2001, I got sent from Eastern Correctional to Woodburn. And we had a friend, Cowboy. And so Cowboy said he was looking for a singer for his band, so I went down there. That's when I first met our friend here and our bass player. And so that's how we met. So I started singing in the band, and then what happened to Cowboy? Cowboy left at some point. Or we'd fallen out or something. There's always a falling out or something with him. Remember he caught an attitude?
Yeah, it was the heroin. I don't remember what episode it was.
Came back, but we just kept rolling.
Yeah, he couldn't beat his monster.
Nah, he was
phenomenal guitar player, but could not beat his monster.
So, and we were there until he got transferred to Mid-Orange because of the drug program.
Drug program, yeah. They sent me to a drug program.
They kept trying to move me, and then they had a facility hold on me because I worked in the hospital at the time. I was a nurse's aide. And so they had a facility needs thing that they did. They held me for like 6-7 years. They moved the drug program, so everybody who was in the drug program had to go with it,
Now, there was, back before they started closing prisons, they had 1,000 convicts or so that stayed on the buses at all times because they didn't have beds for you. Yeah. Some guys just got on the buses and just stayed on the buses.
Bus therapy.
Bus therapy, they call it.
A guy from Alabama, they did that too.
They just transfer you, maybe drop you off for the weekend. At night, they would put you in a reception center, pack you into a reception center someplace. You'd sleep there at night.
Big money for the COs.
Back in the daytime, sun comes up, you're back on the bus. You're riding all day on the bus. Time to go to sleep, they find you a bed, drop you off, you sleep, they put you back on the bus. So let's talk a little bit about programming.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to get a little bit into that. So Dave is one of the unique individuals, actually, who did some things inside that are commendable and need to be mentioned. For instance, he got the horticulture thing, and what was that program?
It was the horticulture program. I'm a licensed landscape nursery manager.
And what was the program called?
It was horticulture.
Yeah, but it was what was the sponsor?
The Department of Labor.
Right. So through the Department of Labor, Dave was able to get this license degree.
5 years, almost 5 years.
To take care of trees and plants and things,
Plant life. That's why me and him were such good friends.
Right.
Plant life.
Yeah, because I'm a vegetable. But but it's commendable that he's able to do these things. It's really hard to do anything inside as it is. And he was able to do that. I remember I was working small engines.
Yeah, we had a blast.
And Dave was running horticulture, and so I would fix all the horticulture stuff, the machinery and
tractors.
And Dave would break it, So.
Absolutely.
So you guys were outside together. You guys were outside
Listen,
together.
I learned more about diesel from him working on that 3-cylinder 1973 John Deere than I would have ever learned in my entire life. The funny story was we had to put a fuel pump on this thing. It was in the summer, so the regular instructor wasn't there.
Injector pump.
So they spent the $1,600, whatever it was they were going to spend for this rebuilt pump. So our friend here had the manual all night, and that's like porn for him. He's like, I mean, he eats that stuff up. So we get out there, we got a little tarp because it's starting to rain, and here comes the substitute teacher. And our friend here goes, well, you know, Dave, I've never actually put one of these on before. I said, well, you know, you fucked that up. You know where we're going, right? That's $1,600. We're going to the fucking box. Don't fuck that up. You know, it worked.
But I had the manual. So
it worked.
It wasn't a problem. I took the manual back the night before and studied the manual. So the next day I was set to go put it.
That's
in.
his thing. When we worked in Mid-Orange, we worked in the appliance repair shop. He got me a job there. You want to talk about some funny stuff? That was some funny stuff. Our friend here, he's very good at pushing buttons. You know, and I'm usually good at at comebacks. But some days he would get me. So I remember one day we pulled up to the shop with a pickup truck, and there was 2 dryers in the back. He said some slick stuff that just, I went from 0 to 1,000. I actually picked the dryers up when I was throwing them down the stairs out. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I guess they ain't gonna work now.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, he threw the dryers at me.
Down some stairs at
Yeah,
you?
he threw him down a flight of stairs at me. Yeah, it was funny. Couldn't stop laughing. It was just hilarious.
So you worked in the infirmary?
I did. I was a nurse's aide for about 5 years.
That's got to be some horror stories.
The guy, me and the other guy I ride with, Tommy. So he worked there with me, and there was a lot of horror stories. I mean, no Spanish guy. He got beat by the COs so bad that when he took him to the hospital, he had to get a blood infusion. He ended up dying in my friend Tommy's hands. But yeah, so during Y2K,
yeah,
that was interesting.
What's
The double bunk scandal.
The Y2K, that's when everybody thought the world was going to shut down because the computers didn't have the numbers. Mm-hmm. Y2K.
But what's the scandal in prison?
Prison was that it coincided with double bunk. When they were doing double bunk, nobody with any time wanted to double bunk. If you do time, there's no way you want to be in a cell with another person. I'm sorry, it ain't gonna work. So they were making deals for guys that were up north, that if you agree to double bunk for a year or whatever, they were making all kinds of deals so they wanted double bunk to work.
This is because they had too many inmates. People were on buses, living in buses.
No. This was a Pataki fucking plan.
Yeah, Pataki was packing the prisons.
He was packing the prisons. He wasn't building new prisons. He was 3 strike. You remember the 1 strike, 2 strike. They weren't releasing anybody. So the Y2 thing in Eastern, they called everybody out of the honor block. I was in the honor block. The dep said, "Oh well." So he said, "Well, you either lock out or we put you on a bus." Where's the bus?
Where's the bus? Yeah, where's the bus?
I mean, you're giving me a choice: either lock in and lock out and be on a wanted poster of whoever decides that they need to use me as a pincushion, or you ship me somewhere else.
Do you understand what he's talking about?
Now I understand the bus, but the lock in, that's not like keep.
Okay, so here's the deal. There was a protest. So the protest is everybody locks in, nobody comes out. You don't go to rec, you don't go to programs, you don't go to chow. Nobody comes out of their cells. You lock in. And
you would think that for the facility that would work for them, right? Because if everybody's locked in, you know where everybody's at. You don't have to run program. But no, it was an insult to the depth of security. Because his feelings got hurt because people told him to go fuck himself. That we're not coming out. We don't care, because he was telling Albany he had it under control. Well, he didn't have it under control, because they pulled up 5 or 6 buses and they just loaded motherfuckers in them. And they were doing exactly what he said. They were driving them around for months. Some of the guys were on a bus for months. Never seeing their property, never seeing their family, never taking a bath.
This was it was a protest, right?
A protest against double bunking.
Against double bunking, yeah. But they gave you an ultimatum, or they gave you the 2 choices: lock in or
lock out.
Lock out.
Oh, lock out. Okay.
Go to program.
Go to your normal program, or we will ship you out.
And they went around and did this to everyone, tried to get them to not.
They went to in Eastern. They went to the honor block because the kitchen guys worked there. The only people they didn't go to was industry. That was a different block.
You go to the guys who are the most to lose first.
Yeah. And when we told them to go fuck themselves, they didn't know how to handle that. So he went around and he had every seat went around and told every CO, if you have a list of guys, so that gave the COs an opportunity to get rid of guys that they didn't like.
If the facility can get X amount of people out of their cells back to programs, everybody else eventually is going to go, well, what the fuck am I locked in here for? These guys are all walking around.
And then the facility also doesn't have to do an unusual incident report. They have to report when stuff like this happens, and it's a mark on the
superintendent, on the superintendent himself.
What happened? Did you guys win, or did they end up double bunking people?
They double bunked. Everybody gave in.
They double bunked because the first guy with 30 years in that folded, it was over.
And they were also going into the box with guys that had years to do in the box.
And
they said, we'll let you out. We'll give you time cuts if you double bunk. Yeah. You know, we'll give you 60 days keep lock. You can move out tomorrow. We could throw that 3 years
guys
you
were
have
jumping
to do out. And they were jumping on it.
As they should, for their own. Yeah. People do things for their own personal reasons.
You have to survive.
I know that in Eastern, I mean, when we finally came out, some dudes got laced up.
Chopped up pretty good.
What does laced up mean? What do you mean?
They got cut up. One day cut this one dude so bad, it came right through his cheek. You could see his teeth. But that you can't fix that.
Who did that to him?
His own people.
Why?
He double bunked.
He double bunked. And also came out when everybody else stayed in.
That was when you were a nurse?
Nurse's aide.
So did you you saw that guy?
Yeah, we put people back together. One guy is my guy. They got him right down to the center of his nose. I mean, yeah, I was certified nurse's aide through the Department of Corrections, through the health department.
Jesus, how much blood did you experience during those years?
Gallons.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the guy with the cheek, those were mop buckets of blood because they got him in the movie theater, and the movie theater goes this way, so everything just rolled down the hill. One time, it was in the mess hall, and this kid took exception. This little skinny Spanish kid took exception to this dude, and that milk handle, for the milk.
Yeah.
The dude he was going after had a partner, so he waited till the partner was in the mess hall proper, and he shut the door to the line, and it wouldn't open because the COs were in the office doing whatever. And he beat this dude damn near to death with that handle. There was blood all over. It took me like 4 hours to clean up this mess.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, dude? You couldn't just stay in one place and take your beating like a man?
Oh my God.
He ran.
That's what you thought?
He ran behind the line. He ran into the slop room. He was just trying to get away. That boy, and then when I finally seen the guy, I mean, he literally had divots, and he should have listened to the guy when the guy told him to leave him alone.
So why would people take the double, if they knew that they were going to get fucking ambushed, why would they take the double bunk deal?
Usually the guys who got ambushed were the pseudo tough guys. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. And some of them found out different, And some of them were right. Some of them stepped out and nobody touched them,
Yeah.
I remember they came and asked me and Tommy, what are you guys going to do? I said, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to do what everybody else does. What do you think? Oh, we're going to be the only two idiots out here? No.
You went in as you just turned 17?
Just a baby.
Did you go to Elmira?
I did go through Elmira. Nice place. So, I don't know, like 6 or 7 of us in the van. And so as soon as you get up to Elmira, you see, you pull up the hill, and there's this hillbilly sitting up on a tower with a gun looking like, go ahead, boy, I dare you. Go ahead, I'll give you your shot.
Double dog dare you, Bo.
Hey, go ahead, I dare you. He said, I dare you, go ahead. This is your one and only shot you're going to get. Yeah. So they take your shackled ass through the thing, and then you're sitting there, you get through processed in. So as you're going up to get your state greens, the CO's got your tag and what you're in jail for. So he's going, you little, he's told the other guy, he's something like, you little fuck, you like to break into people's houses, right? So now you know what this guy's in jail for. Another guy named Quinnichek, I think you might have met his brother, there's 2 of them, but he goes, so you like little boys. So now everybody knows what this guy's in jail for. So I go up there, he goes, 2 homicides. So this is his exact words. He goes, what'd you kill? 2 ends. Like, nah, man. But so, with that crew of people that you came with, by the end of the night, you knew what everybody was in jail for. So that's how you know who was around you. Because the COs are going to give them up right away. And then those who they don't give up, somebody else will give them up. So yeah, Elmira, the first night, I remember you had to get in that line, walk that line when they go to the big reception area. There's 2 yellow lines, and there's these cells stacked on like you see in the movies, and they're throwing shit at you. So I slide
From the cells?
Yeah, so I slide up underneath the catwalk. The CO says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not getting hit. That's what the fuck I'm doing." That ain't fucking happening. So you get in your cell, and this is your first night. I've never been in prison. You're like, wow, this is just like you're just in fucking shock. And you turn off the light and the wall moves. Roaches. That freaked me if I didn't turn that light off the whole fucking night. I don't think I slept the whole night. I was afraid those fuckers were gonna, crawl all over me and shit. It was disgusting.
What was the most violent prison you were in?
Toward the end, Coxsackie was probably the most violent. When I first got there, if you had a fist fight, one fist fight a week, that was a big deal. If you had a stabbing once a year, it was a big deal. By the time I left in '88, if you had a stabbing once a day, it was a slow day. So it had, over a period of time, gotten worse and worse. Because
Why do you think it got worse?
It was a whole bunch of factors. Number one, there was nothing to do. No recreation. They wouldn't let they had to go to court to get the yards open. And then when they had the big yard open, they made it such a production of having to take everybody out to the yard because, what kicked them in the ass is they got like millions of dollars for these lights for the yard. So one of their auditors came down and said, "Yeah, well, you just got X amount of millions of dollars for the lights, but I don't see anybody in the fucking yard." So they had to start letting people go to the big yard. Before that, you only used to go once or twice a year. But they would take, don't be the last company going, because you're just going to turn around and come back in. That's how slow they did it on purpose, And then it was beat up cities. They were a hands-on facility. They had no problem rolling up on you and just putting hands to you. Sometimes that worked out. Sometimes that worked out for their benefit. Sometimes it didn't. They had a superintendent there that used to do it personally, Zarninsky. He would pull people into the stairwell and just start wailing on them. One guy had a $10,000 lawsuit that he won. He didn't stop him. He didn't care. But they took over the box in early '88. The inmates took over the box.
How? What happened?
They were taking them out for wreck, and one inmate, and it wasn't the regular officers, it was training officers who were relieving them. And the inmate turned around, clocked that officer. He went down. And then it was just chaos. And the guy, they got the two officers. One was at the door. They got him. And actually, the guy that they got at the door was actually he was halfway decent most of the time. But they laid him out. Then they laid the other guy, and the guy that was in the control booth tried to escape through the roof because they had an escape hatch. But they realized that the keys were chained to the console, and they were already breaking the window to the console. Once they got in there, they just let everybody out, and it took them about a week to negotiate that one done.
Wow. So how many inmates were there? Do you know?
The box had to be 30 some inmates. They closed the jail down. I was working in grievance at the time. I remember we got escorted back to our cells, and then next thing I know, I'm looking out my window because I could see the front of the facility. I see all the hillbillies coming in their pickup trucks because they put out an alert, so every CO in the area jumps in his car and comes, and then they start issuing the AR-15s and all that stuff. The only good thing about that is that there was a female officer who normally worked there, and that day she wasn't there because they would have fucked her up. A couple of them guys got 10, 15 years in box for that.
Is this because they were like sick of abuse, or were they just
the box in Coxsackie, because they came to me afterwards. IG came, they want to see the files. I said, it's right there. There was over 250 grievances against the officers in the box for a variety of reasons, mostly for physical abuse. I was fortunate that I've only had a couple confrontations throughout the course of my time I was there, and I went to the box twice. Once for marijuana cigarettes. This is funny. Here's a funny story. So early in my bid, in order to do what I needed to do, I sold drugs. So at that time, there was different ways of getting stuff in the facility that were a lot easier than they are today. Right? Usually it came in through a CO though. So I was delivering a couple joints somewhere, and then they did one of these where you come down and they throw everybody against the wall, and they took my wallet. I had this little bullshit wallet, and they ripped it open, and the joints went flying. I'm like, ah. So then they took me to the box. So I get up to the box. So they do the normal, they strip frisk you, and they wait till you're naked to start the threats. Like, we're gonna kick your ass. And I'm like, okay, but just understand this. While they're kicking my ass, my nuts are going to be on your forehead because you're going to be the guy underneath me. And so, you know, they said, get the fuck out, just go to yourself, be quiet. You know? But that's how I handled it. So when I did the hearing, they come up, they said, Captain Van Duzen did a marijuana field test to determine that those 2 cigarettes were actually marijuana. I said, what the fuck is a marijuana field test? What you do, Walt? Sit around the office smoking my shit?
Smoke
what
some
the
weed.
fuck? Because the only thing they had was the litmus test with the litmus paper, right? So there's no fucking marijuana fucking field test. You know, you smoke that shit. So the guys, they just fell out laughing. I got 60 days.
For that comment?
I got 30 days for each joint.
The weed. Okay.
I said, thank God I didn't have more than 2. I didn't go to the box again until I went to the box in Mid-Orange.
What was that for?
I'm disobeying a direct order or some shit. Some dumb shit.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Oh, it was Urbanski, our buddy. Remember? They were doing the facility inspection where they were going to get their accreditation. So all week long they had everybody running around cleaning everything. So Urbanski comes on Saturday, starts kicking people's beds down to get up to clean and do all, but they had already did it because the sergeant had already made sure they did it. And I decided that I was going to intervene. So I went up and said, yo, Lieutenant, you know, we already did all this. And he said, you either do it or I got 4 packed up bags. I says, you know what, man? Fuck you. And he just lost his mind. He went and got the sergeant. They came back. We went outside to that little foyer, and he's pointing his finger at me. He says, I'm the lieutenant, I'm the watch commander. And I did my normal. We always used to do it. Ooh. I said, I wake up every morning and I forget that I'm in prison.
We used to do that too.
And he lost his fucking mind. He had the CO write the ticket, right? So the CO writes the ticket. I go before another lieutenant, Sistero, our friend's buddy. And she says, well, they want me to do this. He said, but I don't do what they want me to do. So she gave me a suspended sentence. Then this other fucking CO a week later wrote me up for being in the rec room. Now understand, everything has to be in the rec room, the coffee machine, all that. That's the only way you're going to get it. And he said I was watching a movie. I don't know, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I don't know, maybe I stopped. I don't know, I don't care. So they sent me to Fishkill, which was, I did 31 days there because our buddy, Urbanski, refused to send somebody to pick me up on the day I was supposed to get out.
You got attacked once, right?
I got cacked twice in Coxsackie. No, once in Eastern, once in Coxsackie.
But from inmates,
Yeah,
no?
I got an inmate decided that he'd like to rearrange my face with a razor. That didn't work. I mean, I got the scar right there, but it used to be a little bit longer. It didn't work out well for him.
That's really close to your eye.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I thought he punched me.
Was it a razor tag thing or?
Oh, it was definitely a razor tag thing. That's an interesting story. I mean, this guy was.
What is razor tag?
Well, I know for gang members, for some of them, it's a rite of passage. They're in their stripes. You know, getting tagged with a razor used to mean something. You know, if you tag somebody in the face, it used to mean that they were a rat or somebody. It doesn't mean that anymore. They took that little meaning away. And the guy who cut me was just a coward. He was going around blackmailing people. You know, he'd find some dudes with crimes that he thought, you know, he could blackmail them. And so I tried to intervene, and somehow or another my name came out of his mouth almost too many times. And so I had put a cease and desist order out. And he sent this huge dude who was also gay to come and confront me. And I was like, dude, I will beat you to fucking death, man. Just get the fuck out. Dude, they called him Sugar Bear. At some point in the week, this gentleman named Joey decided that I was too much of a threat. So he waited until I was coming back from a service, and he waited on the stairs with his hoodie and stuff on. And I was looking at him like, yeah, I gotta get this motherfucker. The cops are right there. I can't do it. So as soon as I turned my head to look at the cop, boom! I thought he just punched me. So I immediately snatched his little narrow ass up, and I'm like, and they told me to put him down. But anyway, yeah, I shook him like a little rag doll. And then when they took me behind the gate, they handed me a towel, said I was cut. And then he was doing all kinds of stuff. He telling the CO I had to cut him, he was going to cut me. And so they didn't take him to the box. They just put him in his cell. Meanwhile, I'm over in the hospital trying not to get put into administrative PC. So they did not put him in the box. That only means one thing. He's working for somebody. And sure enough, when I went to the hearing, I found out who he was working for. He was working for Captain Moses, the guy who held the hearing. I mean, I got the charges, whatever charges they had against me were dropped, but this guy was a rat.
Wait, this is crazy. So
he got away with it because he always delivered information to the administration. Then I find out later, after a little more inquiry, that this was his MO. He had done this at other facilities to other guys.
So he'd go around and slice people up and get away with it because he was...
Because he was a rat. He gave up information. Then that's not even the best part. The best part, then he presses charges against me. Against moi. At that time, my cousin was married to a sergeant in the Ulster County Sheriff's Department who was part of the prison system. So I tell her I got to go up to Kingston to wait for a grand jury hearing. So Joe, my cousin's ex-husband. So I'm waiting in the holding pen. He goes, "Hey, Dave, what's up, Joe?" And he goes, "You know this guy?" I'm talking about the guy who sliced me. He says, "I just know what he says." He goes, "Oh, that's no." He says, No, let me tell you what he's in jail for." Turns out he was in jail for pushing rapes. He was a serial rapist. But because he never appealed his case,
It's not in the books.
it's not on the books. So he was telling everybody else he was this Joey Gonzalez who sold cocaine and all, but that's not who he was.
Why didn't the COs give out his info?
He had a pimp. It was just Captain Moses was his pimp. He kept him out of trouble. So he eventually gets convicted. He gets 18 months in the box, right? But they don't ship him out of the jail. Now you know what I was doing for those 18 months, right? I was waiting for him to get out. I was in battle mode. I went into the gym. Before that, I only worked out on occasion. When I went into battle mode, I was there 5 days a week, 3 times a day. I was in battle mode. I went from $120 up to 250 pounds I was just waiting. I was praying that they were going to let him out of the box. At the time, I was also going to therapist. So they have this room, the guard room floor where, package room, front entrance, all that stuff where they take people out. So I went up there and that's where her office was. So as I'm going in, I look across and they got little Joey Gonzalez in shackles and 2 officers getting ready to go out on some trip. So he sees me and he does this brilliant move with the shackle shuffle. He's coming toward me and I just stop. The CO, Mr. McClay, was a little tiny guy and he looked at me, he goes, "Oh, fuck." Right? So he's trying to move me. He said, "Coleman, go in the room," and I won't move. But eventually, he got me to go in the room, but it wasn't before Joey got close enough to spit. He spit and he didn't get me. He got the CO.
Ooh.
So immediately, there's a whole new playing field. All his protections are removed now. They shipped him to Annika. But wait, there's more. 6 months later, I get called down to get legal mail. I go down there, and I'm being sued by Joey Gonzalez for injuries he incurred while trying to rip my face off with a razor. That's how I read it.
God.
So there was a Judge Avery, I think it was a federal judge. So I filled out a disbursement form for 25 cents. And I wrote a note, typed a nice letter to the judge saying, "Here's 25 cents. Have Mr. Gonzalez call somebody who gives a fuck." Respectfully, boom. And I never heard anything more about it. But he was also trying to sue the COs at the time too. So yeah, that was some serious shit.
God, what if that guy and all of his fucking drama, he must have also
Because he was hiding. When you've got secrets,
yeah,
people do this. When anybody's doing too much of this,
yeah,
you got to stop and look. What are you hiding from?
Yeah.
Most of the guys I know just want to do their time and go to fuck home. They're not cowards. They're not punks. They're not bullies. However, if you rattle their cage, you're going to see a whole different person. And those are the friends that I had. I had people, listen, I didn't run with anybody, but I had friends. And that weren't looking for my friends. Don't get me in trouble. When me and Tommy were together, it was me, Tommy, and Sadiq, who's a Muslim. So you had me, who was technically a Jehovah's Witness, Tommy, who's technically a Jew, and Sadiq, who's a Muslim. We all hung out together, and they were always asking Sadiq, "Well, why do you hang out with those 2 guys?" It's because they don't get me in trouble.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
The funny thing is when you seen all three of us putting up a Christmas tree. Yeah, this looks good. There we go. We got your Jew, your Jehovah's Witness, and the Muslim putting up a Christmas tree.
You said some interesting things to me the other night, boss, when we were talking on the phone. You were talking about regular people in life, right, who are out there, maybe commit a crime, like, I don't know, drinking and driving and accidentally kill someone, or people who are in situations like your guys' is, you know, or people who make fucked up drug-fueled mistakes, you know, or whatever. But then, you know, you go on the inside for all these years and you're just, even though you're basically or semi-regular citizens on the outside, you just really become indoctrinated to hate authority, like basically from the start, right?
True. Yeah. So you go in there. Now, most people are raised, you know, as children to respect authority, respect law enforcement, right? Trust firemen, right? That's how you're raised, right? That's how most kids are raised. But then you get inside and you discover that the people that actually have that authority are the most evil people on the planet. There are no more corrupt motherfuckers than the corrections officers, in my opinion, in my experience, right? So the first thing you learn when you get in there is that you cannot trust them. When you figure out that you can't trust authority, that the protections that you thought were there for you are not, that you have to build your own protections, right? The first thing you do is you start to despise authority, because authority is supposed to provide those protections, those comforts, those securities. And they don't. So they teach you to hate. I mean, you have to hate authority to survive. Mm-hmm. If you don't hate authority in there to survive, then you suffer from Stockholm syndrome.
But didn't you say there's some people that the time does them and they're always hanging out with the COs, and what are those people like? What happens to them?
You either do the time or the time does you. If they do enough time, those people that the time does, they are not people anymore when they come out. They're robots. I happen to know one. He did 46 or 47 years. He's out now. He just got out. And he is damaged beyond, you can never be fixed.
Even if you're a good CO, and there have, we've had decent COs around us, but you can never forget the fact that they're a fucking CO, right? You can't talk freely around them. So just because you didn't do it to me personally, and I used to tell people all the time, they go, yeah, CO so-and-so's a scumbag. I say, yeah, but he's kind of my scumbag, you know. But he is a scumbag, right? Because the job, they're going to say it requires, but somehow the job, that seems to be the requirement to be a CO, that you have to lose some form of your humanity and become a dick, you know. And a lot of them are.
Or they won't survive.
You go, well, you go to Fishkill. They killed a guy. They handcuffed him and threw him down the fucking stairs. And the coroner for Dutchess County declared that his death a fucking homicide. And not one of them motherfuckers got indicted. Yeah, they investigated. They did all that shit, but they didn't indict nobody. Why? Because the good COs didn't say shit. They let it happen. It was this white supremacy thing that goes on in Fishkill. And you have COs that are fucking scumbags. And that's all they do. Fishkill's divided into two facilities, upper and lower. On the upper is where all the fucking shit happens. They want to fuck with you, they send you up there.
Right, and that goes back to what we were talking about before, right? So if you consider yourself to be a decent CO or a decent person, right? And there's somebody getting their guts stomped out next to you, and the IG comes in and says, what happens to this guy? He says that he was attacked violently by COs. What happened? Oh, I didn't see anything. Well, right now, just at that moment where you didn't see anything, you're not a good person, you're not a good CO, you're a fucking scumbag.
Who's the IG? What is that?
Inspector General.
And so you're saying they were asking the other COs, and the other COs
they always
said,
come right. They always come in and they ask whenever there's an incident, somebody gets stomped out or something and files a grievance, or their family calls the cops or does whatever, right? Calls facility. It starts an investigation. So the Inspector General's office is in charge of that investigation. They come in and they talk to all the COs who were in the area at the time, and nobody's seen anything.
They talk to the inmates. So if it comes down to an inmate versus CO, right?
And COs always get the push.
And the problem with IG, although they've changed it a little bit, IG is COs.
They're former COs, right?
They're still COs. Oh. They're just holding this special office because they can be sent back at any time. But what Como did in an attempt to address it, is he brought some people in from the feds that had retired to run IG, but it's still mostly COs. So you got COs.
It's still law enforcement, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah. When they escaped out of Eastern, they had an escape, and they called, and they were calling everybody down. The fucking guy who interviewed me used to be the CO of my dorm in Cooksaki.
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck you calling me here for? It didn't even happen. He goes, I just want to see you. See me for what?
I
was like,
bullshit
see me
interview.
for what?
And he can write down on paper that he interviewed.
The whole fucking thing, and like he's saying, now the images is everybody sees me walk into this fucking office. There better be other motherfuckers walking in there too.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? It goes back to this, man. If you're gonna stand there and watch somebody get fucking brutalized,
then you're not a good
and
person.
do nothing about it when it's your job to protect him. If you didn't have the balls to stand up when it was your job to protect him, you at least have the balls to say something when the investigation is going on. And if you don't do either one of those things, you're just as bad as the people who were putting the beating on them.
Absolutely.
So there are no good COs.
What would happen to the CO if he did talk?
He'd
probably get ostracized.
Sure he would. He'd get ostracized
Or you get
because he
transferred
crossed
to
the
another
blue
facility.
line.
They've done that.
Because he crossed the blue line, right? But that isn't the issue. The issue is you took an oath. You swore
It's the same issue
to
you got
serve
out here
and
with the cops
protect
on the street.
and to do your job, to take care of the convicts, right? That's your job.
Care, custody, and control.
That's the three.
That's the three. Care, custody, and control.
So if you don't do that, you're just as big a scumbag as the person who put the beating on him.
And then in Fishkill, where they killed that guy, he was on a special mental health unit. So now he had issues. He was having an episode. He thought, he had packed his bag. He was going home. He was having an episode. And now you have two very uneducated people getting frustrated with him because they're COs. They're not trained to deal with this. And this is how they respond.
They're trained for violence.
So what about that story with the watch?
Oh, that was Comstock. That was Gosline and Hurlburt. So the way it went down is this guy comes out of the mess hall. Now, when you
were hit there, right?
I was there. I watched the whole thing. So when you go into the mess hall, you have to take a spoon or a fork or a spork, whatever they're giving out. At this time, back in those days, we still had silverware, so you had a fork, a spoon, and a knife. Everybody had that and a metal tray. So, but in this one instance, when they were coming out, you have to throw your silverware. You have to show your silverware and then drop it into a bucket of water, right? And the SEALs would be standing there to watch you show this to them and drop them. So one guy comes out, he doesn't have one of the utensils. He has two and not three. So the procedure is to drop them in the bucket, put them on the wall, pat frisk him to make sure he's not trying to smuggle it out, right? So they put this guy on the wall to pat frisk him because he doesn't have it. He tells them, I didn't pick one up. I tried to tell the CEO inside I didn't pick one up. They only gave me two. And the guy's telling me, shut up, stop arguing, Gosline, and slaps the guy in the back of the head. Guy comes off the wall, punches Hurlburt, his partner, in the face. It's on, right? He just punches CO in the face. It's on. So Gosline grabs him around the neck in a chokehold, starts choking him, and the guy says, your watch. So Gosline's watch was cutting his throat. Your watch running. Gosline says, oh, you like watches? Raises it up, puts it in his mouth, and Hurlburt comes over and pushes his jaw closed. The watch pops off the band. The guy chokes to death on the watch.
Oh my God.
So they killed this guy for a spoon, for a utensil. And the coroner said, yeah, he bit his watch off his wrist and choked on it trying to swallow it, trying to steal his watch.
Oh my God.
So that was the official report, is that he was trying to steal the watch.
Are you
that's
fucking kidding me?
99% of the time you're going to meet it, especially when you're upstate, up in them hillbilly country. That's because they're all in cahoots.
Yeah.
That thing that happened with Fishkill and the coroner declared it a homicide, that's the first time I've ever seen, a coroner declare something like that.
So,
but presumably a bunch of inmates were there, right? It was
everybody's seen
They
it.
don't
Yeah.
care.
They don't care.
But
because
did they
they're
come
protected.
and interview all those people?
Sure they did.
But they don't care.
So, what were your biggest struggles? Beer. What were your biggest struggles
That's my beer.
when you got out? You want one of those?
What is it?
It's an alcohol drink.
It's a lady
Sure, why
beer.
not? I'm on vacation. My biggest struggle?
Yeah, what was the biggest, if you think back about it from the time
Oh,
you
I
got out
don't
to
have to think too long or too hard.
All right, what was your biggest struggle?
New York City was my biggest struggle.
Okay.
Getting around the city. I wasn't used to subways. So yeah, first of all, the subway scared the shit out of me. and I still hold this belief that only rodents travel under fucking ground.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the biggest thing. The biggest.
No, that was one of the biggest things.
Okay.
People being close to you.
Yeah.
I would always stand. I do it still now. Stand by the fucking door.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple times, one girl that was escorting me, we're coming down Broadway. And I forget where I was in the doorway, and there was this kid, and I wait for the door open. I'm going to step aside so he can get off. He goes, "Yeah, get out of my way, old man, if I slap the shit out of you." Right? And so I just fell out. I just started laughing. I'm like, because I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, you have no idea.
See, now I've told P that I see stuff on the train all the time. I see fights and arguments and slaps and stuff. And she's never seen any of that.
I've never seen a fight in my life unless I
I had a jacket
I've seen
dude
guys
up on
running
a bus.
away.
3 months ago, I had a jacket dude up on a bus because he punched this lady in the back of the head.
You see?
Oh my God.
I see it all the time.
I see anger and crazy, like homeless people.
Yeah.
And,
they're really
people
bad
who are,
right now.
Mentally ill, definitely.
And one of the things I realized is that everything that you learned in prison as a protective, to keep yourself protected, that's a hindrance. It is. It is a hindrance because the way I respond to things, like with the guy in the bus, I was sitting there minding my own business. He was leaning over. She brushed him when she walked by. He said something to her, a black lady. He called her a bitch. That's not what you want to be calling black women. But anyway, she turned around and said, "What the fuck did you call me?" He said, "I called you a fucking bitch." So they had some words, and then she went to step off the bus. When her back was to him, he leaned over and punched her in the back of the head. And so she turned around. By that time, I had already snatched his little narrow ass, and I had him up like on the ceiling of the bus, and he's kicking and screaming, and the bus driver's asking what happened. So that's the thing. People do what they want to do. You would never do that in prison.
Right.
There's no respect out here.
Right.
We sometimes jokingly say everybody needs to go to prison for a month or two to learn some fucking manners and respect.
People need to be fucking polite.
People need to learn some manners.
Because you never know who.
We had this conversation before.
You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who the fuck you're talking to.
Exactly. You have no idea. I don't know. All I know is I play every possible scenario in my fucking head.
Yeah.
Hyper
aware.
When I walk into people say this. I walk into a restaurant. I want to sit so I can see the room. All right. Because whatever's going to happen, it's going to be in front of me. All right. So I have a chance to respond. All right. And in the city, you have to be hyper vigilant.
So here's the thing, Dave. Guy comes out. I've discussed this with P before. Guy or a girl comes out of the grocery store. It's getting dark. Get in the car. Start the car. Turn the lights on. Lights are shining on the side of the building. One light's burned out. You say, fuck it. I'm going to drive home anyway. I'll fix it later. Well, you just broke the law.
Absolutely.
As soon as you put that car in gear and back out, you willingly broke the law. Are you a criminal?
I don't know. Do I like you?
Is that a crime?
It is a crime. It's a misdemeanor. It's a violation.
Okay, but is it a crime against you? Should you be a criminal?
No.
Because of that? No, right? Because what are you supposed to do? Not drive your car now? You got to walk home?
Yeah, that's not going to
It makes no sense. If an officer pulls you over, he's going to give you a ticket, tell you to fix it. You fix it in 30 days, mail the receipt in that you fix it, and the ticket goes away, right? But the criminal intent was there. Because your intention
was to drive the car. Fuck it.
So intentionally, you committed a crime.
Yeah.
So yes, you are a criminal. But are there degrees to that shit? So did the person who drove the car home with a burned out headlight?
I need another one of these to decipher all that bullshit.
Did that person?
See?
Did that person? Is that person more responsible for being a criminal than a person who runs a red light? Says, man, it's 3:00 in the morning. There's nobody else here. I'm just going to ease through this light.
You broke the law, son.
I think one is I think one is a criminal mindset, and the other would be just survival mode. So no, I don't think you're a criminal if you decide to illegally drive that car.
People commit crimes who are
because they need to get home.
Yeah, people commit crimes who do not have a criminal mindset or lifestyle.
So you defined it as.
I don't think a judge would describe that person as a criminal.
Judge is law enforcement. We never want to bring a judge into this because that's law enforcement.
Doesn't matter. I've gotten a speeding ticket and I haven't
turned
called
it into.
a criminal.
I know, you said something there. You said so. One was a criminal mindset and the other was survival.
survival mode. Like, yeah,
Okay,
I have to
so-
get home. So
and I'm
if
glad
I get a
that-
ticket, I'll pay it, and then I'll fix this thing later. I'm not going to leave my car here. Then I'll get it towed, and that will cost more than a ticket.
Right. So I'm glad that you brought that up because that's what I was trying to get out. See? So on the inside, if you break the rules for convenience because you need to, right? Are you a criminal?
Oh, those are rules. Those are not necessarily laws.
Okay, but it's a rule. They call them laws. They got them in a rule book, and they'll fine you. They'll charge you $5 for them, and they will put your ass in a cage for them.
So if you're comparing inside outside like that,
No, I'm just comparing mindset.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent.
you stabbed someone, right?
Yeah.
They probably deserve it.
You only
They did.
right, whatever. But if you stabbed an officer on the outside, you would get a lot more than a few 4 or 5. What you got? How many years
5.
were you in the back? 5 years. If you think about that, and you got out, and there was nothing out, no other repercussions from that, right? Other than that time you did in the box because they knew what was going on and they wanted to cover it up. They probably just moved him to another facility or something, right?
Yeah, or he never came back. I don't know if he ever came back to work. I mean, who knows, right?
You would have gotten, I don't know, attempted murder, regardless of what the motive was, regardless of the reason if you were on the outside. So it's so hard to compare because it's a different world.
It's not hard at all to compare because I did that out of necessity. In my own mind, I had to do that. I had to drive that CO home.
Let me ask you.
But we're talking about something different.
Even though he had a burned out headlight, I needed to drive him home. It's the same thing. At that time, I did it for survival. Would I do it today? No. But in that moment, I needed to drive that car home.
Yeah, but I think we're actually talking about something different because I'm saying that the rules of the outside just don't apply on the inside. It's just
Really?
whatever the case. It's
The rules still apply.
No, not the
Same
laws.
rules still apply.
Not assault, not third degree assault.
Yes, they have the option to call the sheriff and have you arrested and indicted. They have
could've
that option.
Listen, if the police had come to that little incident on the bus, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been arrested. Or I could have been. That guy could have charged me with fucking assault, all right? Even though I was protecting another passenger, all right? Those things are all going through my head while I'm shaking him in the air, all right? I mean, the rules still apply. If I see 5 cops beating up a fucking some civilian, am I going to intervene or am I just going to stand there and watch on my phone? I mean, I pray every day that I never have to make that decision.
So I've seen that a couple
Because
of times.
I know how I respond in those situations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me if you have a badge and a gun. I throw cops out of my building all the time.
Yeah, you think about it later.
Well, I would think even more so if it's that situation that you would just respond without thinking about those
I would
things.
think about it.
Yeah, it's instinct. For me, it's instinct. I respond, and then later on, I go, I should have thought that out.
It's always instinct
You know,
with me.
with me, it's instinct. Like if you push my button, if you piss me off, if I feel like you've done something to me or are going to do something to me, I respond to that instinctively. You know.
Yes.
Now I'm not a mean person, so I don't always just respond in a mean way, but I'm going to address it. I'm going to address it.
Let me ask you guys both. When you think you have no fucking idea what I could do, or you have, like I can zip my suit back on. What are you thinking? Like, because you know so many ways to hurt someone that they can't even,
You're planning.
Like, because of doing all that time in prison, is that
Pretty much. That's pretty much it.
there's no contest with the toughest guy on the outside just because you
There's
guys
no
have spent
contest.
all that time.
So here's the thing, right? When this is going on, for me, Dave can speak for himself, but for me, when this is going on, when I'm being confronted and I feel like I'm being challenged, I've already decided where the first punch and the second punch and the third punch is going to land.
Based on how tall they are.
I've already whooped your
they're
ass
standing.
in my mind.
I've done that the first day I met him.
Yeah.
The first minute I meet another dude, the first thing out of habit is I assess what is it going to take him down.
Regardless of whether you're even having
Doesn't
an
matter.
argument or not. No,
Because
That's
Holy
prison.
shit.
Because when you're in prison, that shit could go south in the blink of an eye.
In a second. People are not who they seem to be. It takes years to get to know people.
You know, guy. You do
you do that with ever women or other people?
No,
just only men. Only men, like only
mostly
guys.
men. Women, I've just like I've had arguments with the girl that was living with me, and I just walk away.
But you don't ever. You just when you meet a guy for the first time, you
Absolutely.
take an assessment.
Absolutely, we take a quick assessment. Like, okay, is this going to take more than 2 minutes of my time?
But never women. See, here's the thing. Here's another thing about prison, right? It teaches us as convicts, as men, to protect women because we don't have any women in there. So the most sacred thing to a convict is a female love, a female voice. Most convicts. I mean, there's the sickos. I'm not talking about inmates. I'm talking about convicts. All right? There's a difference, as Dave can tell you. So there's a difference between a convict and an inmate. So convicts, the first thing you do is you protect women. You're protective of women. That doesn't mean you're not going to argue with them. You're not going to say, you're full of shit, you're wrong there. But you're never, ever going to put your hands on them, and you're never, ever going to allow someone else to put their fucking hands on them. Not allowed. So we don't assess, all right? Don't assess. Where do I need to hit this chick to knock her on her ass? You know what I mean?
Given most times.
Good, because I piss you off.
You do piss me
9
off.
times out of 10. The other thing is a habit of assessing possible threats. It's a habit. It's not even a fucking thought process anymore. It's just like, go to a restaurant. I want to sit where I can see the room. Is that always possible? No, it's not always possible. But when we go out to lunch, we always do the same shit. We sit where we can observe the fucking... One of us is observing the room at all times. Because you don't know when shit's going to go south.
If I'm looking this way, Dave's looking that way.
Yeah,
and you're just aware of that, or you talk
absolutely.
about
It's
it?
it's cognizant, but we don't have to talk about it.
It used to drive my wife nuts in the visiting room. She'd be sitting where you're sitting, and she's talking, and I hear every fucking word she says, and I'm doing this. She says, "Are you paying any attention?" Yeah. What are you doing? I'm looking at the room. Why? Because this is fucking prison.
Have to.
And at any given moment, this shit could go south. So I'm watching possible fucking problems so I can navigate us the fuck out of here in one piece. Right. You know?
Wow. So when you're in a restaurant, you scan the room and size up every single guy?
Absolutely. We went to that Italian restaurant out in fucking Queens. That was great. They thought we were fucking cops.
Yeah, so I went to a restaurant the other day. Just, it was with Paulie. So I'm down at Paulie's, and we go out to eat to this diner. And I'm sitting there at this diner, me and Paulie. I'm sitting here at Paulie, sitting there. And I noticed this guy sitting over there to my left who's looking at me. And I'm like, what the fuck is this motherfucking looking at? And so I go, yo, Paul, I think this fucking dude is eye fucking me, man. This dude keeps staring at me. And Paul busts out laughing. I said, what the fuck is so funny? He says, look. And I look up, and there's a television above my head. He's watching the television. I was getting ready to confront him.
Aside from that, I don't carry that with me. Until recently, I didn't even worry about parole until they started fucking with me the last 6 weeks or whatever. I didn't think about it. I was just doing me, right?
Yeah, but you still have that aggression.
Absolutely.
So you still have that suit.
No, the suit. No. See, there's a suit.
You just don't have the
There's
battery
the
pack.
Under Armour. I have the Under Armour.
Okay, we'll call it the Under Armour. All right, you still have the long johns.
Of course I have that aggression. That shit's never going to go away.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? That's the thing, bro.
But I've learned to refine it.
Right, but it can go away.
It can. I don't want it to go away.
I do. I want mine to go away so fucking bad.
I don't want it to go away completely.
I do.
I don't, because just my few encounters since I've been out with some people need to think twice before they do stupid shit. And I'm not talking about normal people who have normal jobs. I'm talking about assholes. I walk on a fucking subway down at fucking Queens, and the fucking mentally ill guy all of a sudden starts twitching.
Okay, but he's mentally ill.
Allegedly. He's got enough cognitive fucking advice to get on that train and know where the fuck he's getting off, right?
Okay, but you know what? Still, I mean, you know what? The wild animal knows to crawl into the gutter when it's raining. So...
What kind of fucking analogy is that?
That's the perfect analogy, because where do you go to be safe? I mean, a fucking wild animal is not cognizant that it's an animal, but it knows where to get out of the fucking rain.
Most of my, I've curbed my fucking aggression. I got a boss who's an asshole. He'll tell you. I told you how many times I told you. You didn't tell me shit, you fucking moron.
I got a boss.
That's what I'm saying in my head.
Right.
That doesn't always come. I don't bring that out there.
Yeah. It's like Pete tells me clean up my mess, and I say I ain't clean up the fucking mess. You clean up that fucking mess in my mind, but. In reality, I go clean up the fucking mess.
Of course you do. So
the Under Armour.
People, you have to learn to function out of here as whatever the norm is out here.
Los spend much time thinking about tomorrow.
Signing off for episode 8. Thank you for joining us. We had our friend Dave here. I can't say any transvestite jokes. I can't say any retarded jokes. I can't say anything that's not gender appropriate, or Paula's gonna have a piece of my ass. So I can't tell you what Dave is really like, because I can't tell you about any of those things. Okay, so thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Someone said, you got to stop and smell the roses. You know that sure sounds good to me.
I don't fault anybody for a hustle. I always tell them don't hustle me though.
Dave used to make cookies.
Yeah, I used to be cookie man. Cookie man on Saturday and pizza man on Sunday.
Yeah, and he made money with it. Good. He made good cookies.
Yeah.
Homemade cookies.
A
from
boy,
scratch.
he'd get up in the morning if the cookies weren't on his fucking locker. He'd be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
where's my shit?"
I look for my cookies every Saturday. Yeah. So
I
like that.
You
Yeah.
make pizza on Sunday.
Who wouldn't want a fucking cookie? Homemade cookie in person,
Homemade from
right?
scratch. Dave made good cookies.
I'm just trying to see my way through.
And to get COs to smuggle stuff in, how does everyone just know which CO is going to do that?
No, you have to. What do we call that?
You have to give a blowjob?
No, you have to work them. Blowjob. Where's the
I don't
blowjob? Where? Of all the shit that comes across the marquee,
I
in
saw
someone's
that on
mind, you
TV.
just throw that out there, right?
What do they ask for then? That's a woman's
money,
prison,
money.
actually,
What the fuck
right?
do you think they're for?
Okay.
More money.
Yeah, money.
And being high on coke in prison is not a fucking pleasant fucking experience.
I can
It's
imagine.
fucking bouncing off the fucking walls.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting
Everyone's so sick of you talking.
yeah, you're
and
sitting in
then-
the grievance office and you're like, hey, we got anything to investigate today? Let's go investigate something today. Let's go do something here. Let's do it.
Ronnie said, you got to be a simple man.
We were both pretty much aging out of tough guyhood.
Well, yeah, I mean, once in a while someone would push my button.
Oh, yeah, remember Dalton? Oh, Dalton was the best. Unfortunately, Dalton got tuned back in the head a couple years ago, but
Jeffrey got murdered, right?
Jeffy got murdered and chopped up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. Sometimes karma's a bitch.
First kingdom, and all these things we given on.